Okay,
Hello,
so
everybody. Oh, hello. Tina.
hi.
That's here. Okay, it's 3:30, so we're going to get started here. For those of you who are just listening and who I can't see or hear at the moment, that's fine. I'm going to introduce myself. I'm Diantha Bovey, and I am delighted to be hosting this inquiry circle with Anne Haug, and I hope I'm saying your name right.
That's right.
Yay!
Amazing.
And so hosting just means that I'm going to do my best to take care of the technical part, meaning I'll be calling on people who want to participate and muting and unmuting and doing all of the kind of Zoom stuff. So I'm relatively new to this, so please have patience and let me learn as I go a little bit here. But hopefully it'll run smoothly. So I want to give us a chance to, I wanted to give Anne a chance to introduce herself, and then I will explain how to raise your hand and participate in that way, and then maybe you would like to introduce yourselves. Um, so let's proceed in that order. Anne, can you
Okay,
take it away?
so I'm Anne Haug and I live in Montana, and I'm just so happy to be here with you to share this work that has really supported me coming closer to Baba, and that's really the whole point of it. Um, and so why don't each of you just say your name and where you're from if you would like to do that?
I'm Tina. I'm from New York City.
Welcome. Thank you.
I'm Anne McCaig, and I'm from Asheville.
Hi, Anne. Welcome.
I'm Cliff Hackford, and I live in Myrtle Beach.
Jeff Asbell, Amherst, Massachusetts.
Hi, Jeff.
I'm
So-
Mike. Oh, hi, Anne. Hi, everybody.
Hi, Leica.
I'm sorry, my camera is taped up and I can't get it untaped. So,
No problem.
and I'm in Myrtle Beach.
Okay. So is that everybody?
I'm Robin, and I'm in Myrtle Beach.
Oh, yes. And getting your food, hopefully. Okay.
Sort of.
And then
So-
Paula, there's a Paula.
I'm Paula in Kirkland, Washington.
Oh, well, we're all spread out then, aren't we? Okay. So Diantha, why don't you just go ahead and give the technicalities and then we'll begin.
Okay. First of all, could everyone hear each other during those introductions?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because there's so few of us, I may not have to mute us all, but at some point, I'm going to just automatically put you on mute because I have that power. But I can also unmute you when you have a question or when you have something that you'd like to say. So I think that's probably how I'll proceed. And so for you to indicate to us that you have something that you want to say or to share, you would just, and I put the instructions in the chat box. And the chat, you can find the chat box by going to the bottom of your screen there, and there's a kind of a menu bar, and it says chat. And if you just click on that, your chat box will come up. Also on that menu bar at the bottom there is a icon that says participants, and it kind of has two people, it looks like, one slightly taller than the other. And if you click on that, then a list will come up on your right of everybody who's participating. And at the bottom of that list, to your right, there's a little box that says raise hand. So it's, it's pretty simple. You just click on participants and look up, and then look down and to your right. It says raise hand. Okay, I'm going to mute everybody now, and if you raise your hand, I will unmute you, if that makes sense.
Then Paul,
Okay, so we're going to
go in
begin
the corner there,
with a
and I'll hand
quote
over
from,
after this is over.
okay, so maybe
I'm
you,
gonna unmute you, Anne. Just a moment.
all right.
Go ahead. Now just
Okay.
Anne is.
So we're going to begin with a quote from Discourses. And I just invite you to close your eyes and just really take it in. And then when I'm done reading, we're just going to meditate on it for 1 minute. And then I'll just ask if anybody has any insights that they would like to share. Okay. And this is from page 17 of the online Discourses. The soul as soul is infinite, aloof from mind or body, yet owing to ignorance, the soul comes under the sway of the mind and becomes a thinker, sometimes identifying itself with the body and sometimes with the mind. From the limited point of view of a person who has not gone beyond the domain of Maya, there are numberless individuals. It seems that there are as many individuals as there are minds and bodies. In fact, there is only one universal soul, but the individual thinks that he is different from other individuals. The one and the same soul is ultimately behind the minds of seemingly different individuals, and through them it has the multifarious experiences of duality. The one in the many comes to experience itself as one of the many. This is due to imagination or false thinking. Thinking becomes false because of the interference of sanskaras accumulated during the process of the evolution of consciousness. The function of consciousness is perverted by the operation of sanskaras, which manifest themselves as desires. Through many lives, consciousness is continually being burdened by the after effects of experience. The perception of the soul is limited by these after effects. The thinking of the soul cannot break through the hedge created by sanskaras, and consciousness becomes a helpless captive of illusions projected by its own false thinking. I'm going to say that last part one more time. Consciousness becomes a helpless captive of illusions projected by its own false thinking. So now we'll just sit for a minute. So would anyone like to share an insight or awareness that you have from that reading from Baba?
Robin, is your hand still up?
I just was wondering who the circle of friends is who's joined us, because it doesn't have a name of anybody. And
I
how
believe
that,
that's Angela.
I don't think so, because Cliff and Angela are on that one. But anyway.
She has two.
Okay. But I did have a thought. When I hear that discourse, I feel hopeless and helpless to be able to get through that hedge. And it's frustrating and long term and whatever. But I also had an image of a Chinese finger puzzle where you put, and the harder you pull, the tighter it gets, and you can't get out until you let it go. And then you can slip right out of it. So, I mean, a lot of times I think about if I could just accept things exactly as they are, because this is the way we're supposed to get out of this, and just accept it and go with it, that's the way through the hedge, kind of like fitting through it, like molecules fitting through, there's plenty of room. instead of trying to hack through it and not being able to get through. That's it.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I love the Chinese finger thing because oh, am I muted?
You were, but you're on again.
Oh,
I'll mute me now, though.
okay. Yeah, that Chinese finger puzzle has often come up for me as a metaphor for how we resist and fight against such conditions as they are. And I do find that when we take these stressful thoughts and inquire into them, it is a way of relaxing everything. And then the problem solves itself. As Einstein says, a problem only solves itself if it's worked out in a way, not in the same way that it was created. So we actually just go to a different level to find the solutions to our problems. Does anybody else have anything they'd like to share? Okay, Anne's raising her hand.
I have to unmute myself. Okay, you can hear me, right, Anne?
Yes.
Oh. Well, it occurred to me that the only ingredient, the only weapon, so to speak, we have is love. Love kind of dissolves the barriers, you know. It's the only thing more powerful, I think, than sanskaras and all that opposition. So it's our only hope.
It is, and you know, we're so fortunate with Baba. He really is the incarnation of love, and the whole point of this work, which is working with stressful thoughts, is so that our mind can come to rest in our heart, so that we can live through the intuition, which is in the voice of the heart. And so, yes. Anybody else? Anybody else want to share before we move on? Okay, so Diantha sent the 3 kinds of business, and I'm going to read it, and then we're going to just go through the exercise together. The 3 kinds of business in the work is one of the pillars of the work. So it's really important to understand what is said in the work about that there are 3 different kinds of business. And I also remember that somewhere Baba says our business is to love him. And so I like to always weave what Baba says on any subject that we're talking about. And, you know, I know Byron Katie also said that you come to the place where you don't have any business left. Once you learn how to get into your own business and you take care of it, there is no business left. And I would imagine that that's quite a place of freedom. But I also like to remember that my real business is to love Baba. And of course, that means to remember him. So I'm going to read this now. There are only 3 kinds of business in the universe: mine, yours, and God's. Reality is God, I noticed, but only because it rules. Reality is always grace, benevolent. The unquestioned stories we superimpose on reality, in truth, are never as kind as reality. Whose business is it if I'm feeling sad that there is suffering in the world? My business. Whose business is it if you have a problem with my feeling sad? Your business. Whose business is it if there is suffering in the world? God's business. If I think that I know what you are thinking or what is best for you, then I am mentally living in your business. The effect of this is separation and loneliness. If you are over there living your life and I am also over there living your life mentally, then you are over there with you, I am over there with you, and there was no one here for me. Of course I feel lonely and separated. And then this next sentence, I lonely me. She uses lonely as a verb. I lonely me. I make myself lonely. No one else causes my loneliness. I do that. Notice when you feel loneliness or separation, are you mentally out of your business? If you are not sure, stop and ask yourself mentally, whose business am I in? Notice when you give uninvited advice, either out loud or silently. Whose business are you in when you are giving unsolicited advice? So we're going to do this exercise together next. But before we do that, does anybody have a comment or a question? Okay, so Diantha, why don't you unmute everyone, and I want you all to just say whose business it is, and we'll just do it all together. So whose business is it? My height. So your height, whose business is that? Just shout it out.
My
God.
business.
My business.
Mine.
Okay, I would say it's God's business because I don't have any control over it. I heard somebody say my business.
Oh, so it's God's
God's
business.
business.
Well, you know, you can't do it wrong, and I think it's worth talking about. But in this situation, I would say it's God's business because I don't have any control over my height, okay? And we're open to all possibilities. So let's go on to the next one. Attending a concert. Whose business is it? If I'm
Mine.
going, and when I say I mean each of you as I.
My business.
Okay. Does everybody find that? It's my business? Because we can talk about this when things aren't clear. All right. Rush hour traffic. Whose business is that?
God's.
God's business.
Yes, I would say so. I mean, when I first started doing the work, I think I would have thought that it was the, you know, people's business, like who built highways and were in charge of traffic lights. But really, I do think it's God's business. My mother's depression. Whose business is that?
Their
business.
business.
Your business.
Yeah, it's her business. The weather.
God's.
God's.
God.
So that would be God's business. War in the world.
God.
God's.
God's.
Yeah, that's God's business. I mean, Baba says a lot about how the perfect masters and himself ran the wars. So it's even more so interesting with the information we have on that. My brother's vegetarianism.
Their business.
His.
Their business.
Yeah, that's his business. What I had for dinner.
My business.
Okay, so that's my business, what I had for dinner. My boss's anger. Whose business is that?
Their business.
Their business.
That's the boss's business, isn't it? That's his business. My body.
My business.
God's in my business.
Now, I personally would say that my body is God's business because I didn't create my body. But I also understand why somebody would say it's my business because I think in terms of how I care for it could be my business.
Yeah, we have a
So-
lot of control over our bodies, actually.
We do, and yet there's also things we don't have control over. So
Right.
I think ultimately I would say my body is God's business, but what I do with it, I have some business in there, some choices. Okay, so when you understand the three kinds of business enough to stay in your own business, it frees you to see your own path with much more clarity. Eventually, you may come to realize that you don't have any business either. You may begin to give yourself the same courtesy that you give us. So I can tell you from my own experience that I'm learning to go out of other people's business, and I'm still working on it. And my husband would testify that I go into, and I believe, you know, something that Katie says, she said, your gurus are the people you live with. they show you everything you don't want to see about yourself. And so in that sense, if I can get out of my husband's business 100%, I would probably be free. But I notice I still go into his business about what he eats. And I realize I don't like always the way I eat. But you see, it's always easy to divert our attention to something outside of us. It's easier to give advice to someone else than to just stay in our own business. Does anybody have any questions or comments or insights about the 3 kinds of business? So Diantha, I just have a blank screen with names on it. Is that what other people are experiencing?
No, I see everybody's picture.
Oh, okay. I can see you now.
You could,
Jeff wants
All right.
to say something. I don't know if he knows how to put his hand up, but he just tried to. Right?
Who?
yeah.
Jeff?
Is my voice coming out okay?
Yes. Yes, Jeff.
You've mentioned Byron Katie a few times at least. I spent a weekend with her actually years ago. And I wonder if you could give us a little insight as to what did she say, if you remember, her relationship with the divine. The many names, God, the Lord.
Right.
But what did she say about her relationship with the divine? Because I recall that weekend, and I don't think she ever spoke about God or service or these kind of soul, heart-related kind of concerns. How does she approach it? How does she relate to God?
Okay, so that's a great question, and thank you. I think one of the reasons Byron Katie is so popular is because she doesn't promote any spiritual path, and in fact, she won't even call herself a teacher. She only calls herself someone who knows, who discovered that when she believes her stressful thoughts, she suffers, and when she doesn't believe them, she doesn't suffer. And she actually says that she has never suffered for a moment since she woke up to reality in 1986. She's lived in a state of joy. The work has been compared to Buddhism, and that might be the closest religion to what she says, but she does say her last story is that God is good. So she does talk about God, but she doesn't go into any depth on that. And in many ways, I feel that that's part of the beauty of the work. Because I know if she was a spiritual teacher, I wouldn't really feel good about being with her and doing what she does, because I follow Mayor Baba and he doesn't want us to follow any other masters, but she doesn't call herself a master. She calls herself someone who knows that suffering was the cause, that believing her thoughts was the cause of suffering. Does that help? Oh, yeah, I think you're muted. Okay.
My voice okay now, coming through? She's
Now
very,
you're
very-
unmuted. And maybe just turn up your volume a little bit.
Sure. She's a deeply insightful individual, and her teachings really are the teachings of the Buddha, which are very similar to the teachings of Jesus, which are very similar to the teachings of the Old Testament. I mean, they're saying the same thing in different ways, and her approach, the way you said it, means a great deal to me. When I believe my pressurous thoughts, I'm in pain, and not to believe your thoughts, which I think has a lot to do with not getting caught in dualistic thinking, in duality. I guess one question I would just ask, and then, is she still with Mitchell?
Yes.
I find that answer to that question, when two people who are partners can, in a conscious way, work out ways to stay together, if they can, I think that's one of the great treasures of life. Not everybody can do that.
Right.
And I know I've been with my wife 33 years in marriage, 2 years before that. And so when I asked that question, I was just glad to hear that she and Mitchell were able to sort of get out of the way of their ego, EGO, edging God out.
Yes. Well, one of the things Katie says about marriage is that the real marriage is to yourself, which of course is what we know being with Baba. The inner mystical marriage is the real marriage, and every outer relationship is a way to notice what we're projecting. Now, we have good projections, but we don't have to work on those because we just enjoy the good projections. But when we have a stressful negative projection about our partner or anyone in our life, what I love about the work is that I've realized over the last few years, after having facilitated the work for over 10 years, I've come to realize that it's all about projection. The only way our subconscious and our unconscious can become conscious is by projection. And so we all have a shadow, and it's just part of being human. And when we realize that whatever triggers us is because there's something inside of us that we can't see, then it really depersonalizes the energy, and we just start looking inside of ourselves more and more. And so what I've found, for instance, with my husband, is that I'm much more able to just observe when I get triggered by something. Now, for me, the trigger that I've worked on most is irritation, because for whatever reason, that's something I have to work on. And I've seen over the years like this mellowing and much more being at peace. You know, it's like, I don't have to be right. You know, Katie says in the work, it's a question. Do you want to be right or do you want to be free? So I don't need to argue or debate anymore. I'm just like really trying to focus in my heart more and more and being aware that that's where the real inner union is taking place. And everything that's outside of me is the dream that I'm waking up from. And I feel like Baba gave me the work when I was really suffering deeply as a bridge to come closer to him. And then when I started really finding all the things Baba has said about the mind over the last 3 years or so, I just became impassioned to share this bridge that I found with self-inquiry with Baba lovers who still suffer, of course, from believing stressful thoughts. So what we're going to work on next is a group inquiry on a specific stressful thought. And what we'll do is Diantha will unmute everyone, and everyone
I
just...
believe Tina had something that she wanted to...
Thank you. So Tina, did you want to... Yes.
Yeah, if you could just like sort of give an overview of her work, is there some way you could give a little bit of an introduction?
Yes, and I really encourage you to go to her website, thework.com, because if you read the little booklet that's posted there, that will give you the best introduction. And what
Okay, but for the purposes of this, if you could just make a few introductory.
Yeah. Yes, I will. I will. I guess I assumed everything.
Yeah, I have been to some workshops of her work, but it was a while, so I just didn't remember. And also I wanted to ask you if she said anything about the coronavirus.
No, but we're going to do the work on it, and I'm going to share with you how she would work with it.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's all about learning how the mind works and learning to disidentify from our thoughts. That is the most important lesson that the work gives us is and it's a habit we have to develop, which is why I'm offering a weekly inquiry circle. We get to practice questioning our stressful thoughts and disidentifying from them. And Baba, he tells us that we're not our thoughts. And if you send me your email, Tina, I will send you all the discourses passages that I've put into a document that Baba has said about thoughts in the mind, which really support this work. So,
Thank you. I just wanted to just have like a little bit of an introduction.
Yeah. So the work is about learning to disidentify from our thoughts. And the way we do that is through this self-inquiry. First, we identify a stressful thought that we're thinking and believing. And that takes a little bit of contemplation sometimes. What is stressing me right now? What am I believing right now that's causing me to suffer? Once we identify that statement, we put it up against the 4 questions of the work. Is it true? Now, the work is meditation, and we actually sit in that question. And there's no wrong answer. It's just a simple yes or no. And then the second question, if you say yes, if you answer yes to is it true, then we go to the second question, which is, can you absolutely know that it's true? And if you spend a minute in it, your answer might change and it might not, and that's fine. The third question is, how do you react? What happens when you believe that thought? And how we react is, what emotions do we feel? And these are like sub-questions for number 3, how you react. What emotions do we feel? What physical sensations happen in our body? Do any images arise? How do we treat that person or object? How do we treat ourselves? What do we fail to see when we're believing that thought? Those are all possible answers for how I react when I believe that thought. And then question 4 is, who would you be without that thought? And again, you sit in it. The situation is the same. Nothing has changed, but you're not thinking that thought. And then after you've gone through the 4 questions, you do turnarounds. Now, I'm not going to describe that to you because we're actually going to do that together, okay? That's what we're going to move into, and I think that will actually answer your question better than me just describing it. I will describe it as we do it, okay? Now, does anybody else have a question or comment before we move into our group inquiry? Jeff?
Could I have your email address? Because I would
Yes.
really love to get those quotes from Baba's thoughts.
Yes,
that you
good.
compiled.
So my email address is Anne, A-N-N-E, at kindreality.com. And Tina, if you email me also, anyone who doesn't have it, I will send you Baba's passages from discourses. I didn't, it's 8 pages and they're not all of them, but it's really fun to go through the online discourses and just search for mind or thought, and you'll find even more. And I have been blown away to discover how parallel all these things Baba has said to us are in absolute harmony with the work of Byron Katie. And I was amazed also to realize that even though I had read the discourses many times, you know, to internalize Baba's words is such a profound experience, and it takes us to such a depth. And so I really feel that we need to have a way to practice it together in order to internalize these beautiful, amazing words that Baba has given us that are for us, you know, for the next millennium. Yes?
So trying trying to really work these questions. I wrote them down. And the first one, as you said, that Byron said, which is, I'm sure, something like Baba would say. So you're identifying with a thought that gives you pressure. And then you ask that very important question, is this true?
Yes.
The challenge is I would be identifying with the answer. And my concern is when I ask the question, is this true? When I say I'm identifying with whatever is my negativity, without trying to be corrective in any way, that to me is a projection. Projecting through a filter and not seeing really what is. So when I ask the question, is that true? And I don't really know, and even giving myself a fair amount of room to just reflect on that, I don't know if it's true.
Okay.
And it
So
is,
then
how do you work with that?
in question 2, the question is, can you absolutely know that it's true? And so when you get to question 2, you will say no. But what I would like to do right now, because I think you have an intellectual understanding, and I had a great intellectual understanding of the work before I immersed myself in it. And what I've discovered is you really have to have the experience. And so that's what we're going to do right now. We're going to have the experience. And you're always welcome to email me. And, I'm offering a free session to any Baba lover where we just work individually for an hour. And there's just a lot of opportunity, because this is really, I feel like what Baba put in my heart was, this desire to share this modality that really changed my life dramatically. And you can read my story on my website, so I don't have to repeat it. So here is the stressful belief that we're going to work on together first. And it's going to be, other people can hurt me. Other people can hurt me. And I want each of you to find your personal example of where you believe that's true. It could be anyone in your life. And you won't be exposed at all by doing this inquiry. You're the only one who knows who you're working on. But the stressful thought is that other people can hurt me. And we're going to do the work on that before we do work on the coronavirus, because I want you to get this experience of how the work works. Okay, so for this, Diantha, we can unmute everyone, because when each person finds their answer, I want you to just speak out loud. It's either just a yes or a no, and there's no wrong answer. Okay, so I'm going to ask you the question, and just take a few gentle breaths. And Katie says the work is meditation, and I've really found it to be true. Your inner wisdom, you're dropping inside, and you're just allowing your inner wisdom to arise with the answer. It's not coming from your mind. It's coming from someplace deep inside of you. Okay? So, is it true that other people can hurt me? When you find your answer, just speak it out loud.
No.
I think it is true, because
Okay, so that would be a yes. Now, the work is not about telling a story. It's about a simple yes or no here. So yes, Tina, your answer is yes. Anybody else, yes or no?
Mine is yes.
People
Okay, good.
like as a yes.
Yeah, I definitely used to believe people could hurt me, so it would have been a yes, and
But
now
this-
it's a no.
This is not physical. This is just emotionally.
Yes, yes.
oh, I
Thank
was
you.
taking it physically.
No. So here's the thing. In the work, we don't take statements of fact. So if somebody hurt me physically, that would be a statement of fact.
Right.
But somebody hurt my feelings, we
mhm.
can question that thought. It's not such a concrete statement. And you'll understand this as we go through the process, okay?
Okay.
Okay. Just wanted to,
Yeah.
sorry about that.
And I would probably change it to
I'm
no.
so glad you brought that up. That's what Inquiry Circle is for. I really do need people to speak up when you have a question
Okay.
or a comment.
I
Because
would
this
Well,
is,
I'm gonna say no. And also I have a question, technically, since Angela is like a host or on my, I'm not finding a raise hand button over here. And she's
There's
taking it.
one under participants.
But when I look there, I'm not seeing a raise.
No?
Do you have a Mac?
No,
'Cause
I
you
have
hit-
a PC.
Because there's a way to do it on your keyboard, but I'm not sure how you do
Oh
it.
yeah, so how do I do it? It's like, what is it?
I have a PC too.
Participants.
And it's in participants, and then
I know, but like, what does it look like? Because I have
I'm going to tell
a
you.
video camera next to me. I have a
You go
little
to the
dot that's
bottom.
blinking like a recording or something, like it's running the meeting, and a microphone, a mute.
Yeah, if you go to the bottom and go
Yeah.
off the screen, your dock will come up, which has
I go all the way to the bottom.
start, yeah, and come back, and something should pop up that says invite participants, share screen, chat, record, and reaction. Do you see that?
You can try
No, but
Alt-Y.
You mean where it says more? I have mute participants, allow participants to unmute themselves, allow participants to rename themselves, play, enter, exit chime, lock meeting, lower all hands.
Yeah, you're in the
Cliff,
whole-
can you try Alt-Y?
Okay, Alt Y. Did it work? No.
No. Can you just physically raise your hand and I will see you for today and we'll figure it out? Okay.
I think it's because of her function that I
Yeah,
don't
your
have.
co-host. Yep,
Yeah,
that's
I'm a
fine.
co-host.
It
okay.
sounds like that's the,
All right.
And
Let's move
also,
on.
Sorry about that, guys.
That's okay.
Okay.
no, that's okay. And also for now, we're unmuting everyone because we're going to be doing
Right.
a group inquiry. And the only time we'll need to mute everyone is probably at the very end of the session.
Okay.
So we'll make it really easy. All right. So we're going to go to question 2 now. Did everybody found their answer, yes or no?
and I have a question about this one because I was thinking of abuse.
Can you turn your volume up, Anne?
Can you hear me better now?
Is that, who's talking?
Laika.
Oh, I can hear you, just not very loudly.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think I have it. Well, let me see. I think I have it up all the
Okay.
way.
All right, go
Well,
ahead.
I was also thinking when you said, can people hurt you? And my answer was yes. I was thinking of abuse. And
Thinking of
so,
abuse, physical
yeah.
abuse.
Yeah. Well, yeah, physical and mental abuse, which was all mixed in together.
Right.
So, yeah, so in the work, you don't want to pick stuff like that. I was a little unclear about what you were saying about.
I'll give you an example.
Thank you.
So here's a statement of fact. So I am upset with my father because he hit me. He hit me. You can't take that to inquiry. It's a statement of fact. And what we do when we have a statement of fact is we say, and that means. So my father hit me, and that means. What would that mean to you?
Yeah. Right.
Just shout it out. Anybody?
He doesn't love me.
He hates me.
Yeah. What? He doesn't love me. That's what you would take to inquiry. That's a belief. We're taking beliefs to inquiry, not physical facts. Okay. So when we work on the question or on the statement right now, other people can hurt me, we're talking about that they can emotionally hurt us.
Right.
Okay.
It's like the story
Because
we
it-
tell
Yes,
ourselves.
it's a
about.
statement of fact that somebody can physically hurt us, but we don't take statements of fact to inquiry. And I will say right here that ultimately, who are we? Ultimately, we're the soul, and our spirit, Baba tells us, gets entwined with the mental, the subtle, and the physical body. So the spirit, our spirit is what gets caught up, but our soul remains completely aloof from the samskaric experience. And so that's another way we can look at it is, well, who really am I? You know, and that's where the work is going to take us to. We're going to unwind these beliefs that anybody can hurt us, but we can't just intellectually say, yes, that's true. We need to go through the process and feel the pain of the belief that we've held, that it's possible that anyone can hurt us. Katie says, I'm the only one who can hurt me. And that's actually what the work is about, but it's a process, and it takes a lot of compassion and empathy for ourselves and feeling the pain that we've borne for embodiments, believing ourselves to be who we really are not. And so in the work, there's generally many tears that are shed as we release the pain of believing that we were a victim. It's deep, deep work, and we cannot like superficially just go, yeah, I'm the soul and I can never be hurt. No, we know that that's ultimately the truth we're going to find, but what we're going to do is step by step allow ourselves to release these painful beliefs that have kept us bound. And we'll have a lot to say in the future about the father, mother, the family dynamic, and the beliefs that we've carried from childhood that really come up in the work. What generally I see that happens is that we start doing the work on our current situation. Whatever is up for us in our current day life, we do the work on that. And it could be, you know, the salesperson we encounter who is not kind. But then in question 3, when we go, what images arise? It's very often the case that an image from childhood will arise where a parent was really unkind to us and said things to us like, what's wrong with you? You know, and then we internalize that there's something wrong with us. I'm just giving you this example, but it happens in myriad ways. And we carry it through our life and we keep projecting it onto our world. As Baba says, the mind projects the world. And the purpose of that is because we're trying to become conscious. And so until we resolve that projection and find inside of us what we need to address, we keep believing that there's something wrong with the world. But Baba says that Maya is the necessary medium for God realization. So this world is a dream that we're waking up from. And Katie actually says that too. So, but we're going to very gently and patiently withdraw these projections and just notice that life becomes lighter and more clear. So, other people can hurt me. Can you absolutely know that that's true? Take a minute and then just give your yes or no. Can you absolutely know that other people can hurt you emotionally? And then when you're ready, just speak out your answer.
No.
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 Constantly.
No.
Often.
It's just a yes or a no.
Yes.
I would
Thank
say
you.
no.
No.
Yes.
Has everyone found their answer? Is anybody still finding it? We're going to move on to question 3. How do you react when you believe the thought that other people can hurt me? What happens? What emotions do you feel?
Frightened.
Yeah, I feel sad when I believe that other people can hurt me.
Scared.
Anger.
Angry.
Yeah.
Shut
Feel like a
off.
victim.
For
Helpless.
me, it's inadequate.
Inadequate. And notice the sensations you feel and where you feel that in your body. I feel my heart contract. Notice when you're believing other people can hurt me, what sensations are you feeling?
Contraction in my chest. Kind of hard lump.
Yeah. Can everyone find a sensation? Because what I'd like to do with you right now is to, as the witness, which means the objective observer, to go into that physical sensation in your body, knowing that neither are you your thoughts or are you your feelings or are you really the sensations. And if you can go into that uncomfortable feeling for 60 seconds, something will shift. So let's do that for 1 minute right now. Find the uncomfortable feeling in your body when you're believing the thought that other people can hurt me. And then I'll ask you in a minute to just report any shift that you feel. If anyone would like to share what they noticed, just speak up.
It kind of became untrue towards the end. I stopped believing myself.
Thank you.
I
Oh.
don't know if I was supposed to pick like an important event, but I did pick an event which was relatively minor. And so, you know, I haven't really thought about it that much, and it's not that big a deal. So are you saying we should pick important events?
I would trust whatever arises for you. When I gave you the statement that other people can hurt me, just trust what comes up for you.
Yeah.
And when you're believing that thought, the point of this exercise that we're doing right now is to go inside and notice the sensation inside your body. Like, where did you feel that inside your body?
Yeah. It was, you know, when I asked someone I was sitting next to on a bus to ring the bell so I could get off, and she said to me, "Say please."
Yes. And where did you feel that in your body?
I just, like in my stomach, I just felt very angry.
Okay. So what you're saying right now is what we call going into story, which is what the mind does all the time. But for the purposes of our session, my job as a facilitator is I bring you back to the work. And so you felt it in your stomach. And what did it feel like in your stomach when she said, say that, say please? What did that feel like? We have to get in touch.
I just like felt like doing physical violence to this woman.
Yeah. So, but the question is, and this is really important because so many of us have learned not to feel the challenging feelings. But what I found is if we want to be free, we need to actually feel the challenging sensation. So Tina, close your eyes and notice you're on the bus. You asked her to ring the bell and she said, say, please. What does it feel like in your stomach when she said that to you? Describe how it feels.
It's just like tight.
Tight.
Like tightened.
So the exercise, and you can do this next time, the exercise then is to go into the tight feeling in your stomach as the witness, the observer, the witness who never is attached to all of these experiences we have in life. We could call it the soul. That's the exercise that we're working on, because what I have found over and over again is that if we can feel the tightness in the stomach and be with it, it actually releases, and you might even have an image arise from your childhood when someone said something like that to you and you weren't able to completely process it or forgive it or not judge yourself. You know, we tend to internalize harsh statements from others that we've done something wrong. And this work is all about unwinding everything we've picked up in this journey that we're on. Is that clear? Do people have a sense of what we're doing now?
And I had an image kind of like I had a tension in my solar plexus. And after about almost a minute, I kind of felt like there was like a little bit of like a waterfall that was going to come out of my eyes like tears. And I noticed that my solar plexus kind of opened up and relaxed a little bit. And then it all kind of opened.
Yes, and thank you for sharing that. And I can promise you all that this works for each of us. Our inner wisdom, our soul is just waiting for us to give our sorrows up and be free of them. And I've just found that this is a very reliable, gentle, steady way to let go of all of these beliefs that have been weighing us down. And we're all in this together, believe me. This is the journey of the soul that we're on. So also in question 3, how do I react when I believe that thought? We might notice, well, how do we treat that person who we believe has hurt me? And just shout it out or just speak out. And when you notice, how do I treat that person that you're working on when I'm believing the thought?
Not very kindly.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, cut him off.
Yes.
Remove myself.
Yes.
I sometimes react in a negative, I say things that aren't nice back.
Yes. And at this point, I would like to just share this awareness that we all have a shadow. And it's the shadow that's trying to become conscious. And there's nothing wrong with having a shadow. It's just part of the deal of being human. And so, for example, in my own situation, I used to express anger. Like
It's
I would yell at
4:30.
my kids when they were growing up before I had the work. And I would sometimes yell at my husband. I didn't really yell at other people, but just my family, right? And um, and so that's the shadow. And the way we integrate the shadow, because we can only become more whole by honoring the shadow. And part of that honoring is, like in my situation, is to notice and feel the anger. Anger is a natural emotion that we have experienced as going through the animal stage of evolution. But what Baba tells us to do is to not be a stone. He wants us to feel the anger, but he wants us to not express it. And what I've discovered over time is that it's really hard at first not to express it, or even to express the hurt or the sharp words. But as we learn to not express it, it gets easier and easier. And in its place, empathy and compassion grow. So now when someone speaks harsh words to me, I just automatically feel like compassion because I know they're suffering. You know, it's never personal. And you'll come to see that more and more. It's never personal. People are running from their automatic responses from childhood and earlier. So when we notice how we treat that person, and we can respond with an anger or harshness. Now I want you to notice, how do I treat myself when I'm believing the thought that other people can hurt me? This is a difficult awareness to arrive at, but I want you to just contemplate deeply. How am I treating myself when I'm believing that others can hurt me?
Cruel.
Okay, thank you.
Anne,
Yes.
I have an appointment at 4:30. I'm really sorry to leave. I've really been enjoying this, but I'm looking forward to next time. I wasn't sure how long it was going to go. So
Yeah.
I'm going to have to.
An hour and a half, and we're hoping to be able to record it, and so you can hear what you missed. Do you have anything you want to say about that, Diantha, about the recording?
Yes, I actually tried to say that earlier, but found that I was on mute when I was saying it. So, but I am recording this session, and so hopefully that is okay with everyone, and let me know. And we're gonna put it up on a special YouTube site that I can tell you more about at the end of the session without taking too much away from the moment that we're in.
Is it going to be on Robin's?
On
YouTube?
Robin's.
Okay,
YouTube.
because Anne, you know how to get to Robin Vogel's YouTube.
I'll figure it out. Yeah.
Yeah.
I have an issue with that. This is kind of personal and private space, and I don't like it to be on YouTube. Is there a way to have it a section of this type of session where it's not really for all, it's for the participants to be privately password protected? We should look into that.
Yeah. Thank you, and I hear you. And so what I did was I sent out a letter to just all the people on my address list who have been interested in the work. And I said in the letter that we would be recording it, and so that if you didn't want to be on the recording, then just don't speak up. But of course you didn't get the letter, and so no, this is something that we're going to have to figure out.
It's fine.
Is it okay for this week?
Yeah.
So in the future, I would really like to be able to share the recording. And so maybe Diantha, at the very beginning of each session, we will tell people, if you don't want to be recorded, then don't volunteer to say
But
anything.
people do arrive late sometimes too, and so maybe
Yes.
in the middle of it as well, just to be double sure.
Yeah.
I have to go.
Okay.
So nice to see all of you. I'm sorry to
Bye,
have to
Anne.
leave like this. Nice to
Bye.
see you. Bye, everybody.
Thank you for coming.
Ray Baba.
Hi, Anne.
Okay, so where we left off is how we treat ourselves when we're believing the thought that others can hurt me. And I heard someone say cruel. I treat myself cruelly. Did anybody else want to share what they noticed?
I think I need to explain the cruel part.
Yes, thank you.
I usually feel like I am falling short of following Baba's advice. And that's where I feel I'm cruel to myself, you know, unconsciously. I'm being unconscious and letting false illusory things wound me and hurt me. And really speaking, I'm falling short of following Meher Baba. And that's the cruelty to self that I feel.
Thank you so much. I would love to respond to that from my own experience. I've done the Judge Your Neighbor worksheets on Baba. Are you familiar with the Judge Your Neighbor worksheet? Okay,
No.
So if you go to Katie's website, thework.com, then you'll know what I'm talking about. But that's what we'll be doing further on in our sessions. We point the finger outward and we judge other people because we have a blind spot about ourselves. And so what we do by pointing the finger outward is that we learn something about ourselves. And I judged Baba on, well, I'm trying to remember. I think that it doesn't matter what I judged him on, but what I discovered when I did the work, that I did the whole process on him, I realized that I've been carrying a projection of God who is a punishing God. And I don't know why, because in this life I didn't experience that, but I felt that it's something that I probably carried over from other lifetimes. And so when you said that you feel cruel to yourself because you can't, you know, you're not living up to what Baba is telling us, that's what it reminded me of. Because as I've done the work more and more, I've realized that Baba is not punishing, and that's only my own work. You know, does that make sense?
Yes.
Oh, good. Yeah. And so, and also you're welcome to email me, and I would be happy to have a session with you. And I'm also offering ongoing sessions to Baba lovers just for a donation, whatever you can afford. I don't care if it's $5. This is what I'm offering to Baba lovers based on the value that you receive from it and what you can afford. But it is really deep, ongoing work, and it gives us a lot to live with and carry in our hearts throughout the process.
Yeah, and can I say something about that too? About when I fall short of my own, the way I want to behave, I don't think Baba's going to punish me, but I do feel very sad that I feel like, I don't know that I feel like I'm disappointing him. I'm disappointing myself because I'm not doing what I think Baba teaches me or shows me or wants me to behave like. And it's not always immediate. It's usually like afterwards that I feel remorse or whatever.
Yes, and I really understand, and I can tell you from my experience in self-inquiry, I've really come to see that I have to love and forgive myself constantly. And so I've learned to be very gentle with myself, and I've also found that I can only be as kind to others as I am to myself. And I haven't ever seen any benefit that arose from being disappointed or in myself or shaming myself or any of that. And so I'm very practical, and I just realized that I'm just marching forward, you know, and I might do stupid things, and, you know, I might not do something as well as I would like to, but my heart is all for Baba, and and so that's my story, and I'm sticking to it, you know. And so for that reason, I am not going to judge myself. or blame myself or second guess myself. I'm just going forward, loving Baba and sharing, in this situation, a process that has made a huge difference in my life and made his words and his teachings much more alive for me. So I am not an advocate of self-punishment or shaming or disappointment, because I cannot see one good thing that comes from it. That's my experience.
Lately, my focus has shifted from self-blame to the fact, we talk about facts, that Baba wants our weaknesses. So he actually wants them. So in all these years, I've been beating myself up about my own shortcomings or whatever. It could only be 1 to 5% amount of time in your day or whatever, and then it becomes like a big thing. That we just are better off not focusing on whatever we did wrong or whatever it is, and just moving forward. And Baba, just keep giving it to Baba every morning and every night. Surrender.
Yes.
And it's so helpful.
It's such a
And it's a pretty new thing for me over the past few years. I've been with Baba since 1975, consciously a Baba lover, to really be focusing on that Baba actually wants my weaknesses. He already is perfect, so he doesn't need my better. I mean, it's always good to be able to offer him your better self, but he doesn't need anything from us at all.
Yeah. Oh, thank you so much for saying that.
Yeah.
That is so important. And, don't you find that the more you practice that, the easier it gets?
It makes it so much easier to be self-forgiving.
Yes.
And also not stay stuck on it. Like, so I can move along quicker than I used to with things. Yeah.
Beautiful. I love that you said that. Oh my goodness, I'm looking at the time. We're going to move on to question 4. Who would you be without the thought that other people can hurt me? Now, the situation hasn't changed, okay? Like for Tina, the lady was really rude to her on the bus. That didn't change. So whatever your situation was, it happened. But who would you be without the thought that other people can hurt me? And just ponder that for a minute, and then just speak out your answers when you find them.
It's my goal in life to be poised under all conditions. So I would be the perfect disciple.
You would be poised under all conditions without that thought. Thank you. Beautiful. Anyone else?
Brave.
Yeah.
Happy.
Yeah. Yeah, it takes a lot of courage to just get triggered by somebody who's unkind and then just breathe, take some breaths. Without the thought, maybe I would take some deep breaths and just give myself some love. And also in question 4, it's where we find proactive solutions. So other people can hurt me. So what would be a proactive solution that we could enact in that situation?
Well, I did just get off the bus. I rang another bell, but I did sort of say something mean back to her.
Yeah, yeah. And so that's where the work is going to help you to realize that you're only hurting yourself. You're hurting yourself when you do that. You're perpetuating all the hurt in the world. Whenever somebody's hurtful to us and then we're hurtful back. And so our work which is Herculean work. You know, in the Gita, Krishna says, it is harder to conquer ourself than it is to conquer the world. And I believe that's true. If we can conquer our own weaknesses through love, then that's the great work. So
To do it
now
in the
let's,
moment, the challenge.
yeah,
To do it
we're
in the
going to turn
moment.
the thought around now because I'm looking at the time, and so I'm going to just keep us moving along. So first, we can do the turnaround to ourself, and so other people can hurt me would become I can hurt me. So in this situation that you found in your personal inquiry, how can you hurt yourself in this situation when you're believing the thought that that person can hurt you? How do you hurt yourself?
I think you hurt yourself by matching energies with the person.
Okay, that would be one specific, authentic example. Thank you. What would be another example of how I hurt myself when I believe someone else can hurt me? I mean, for me, it's like I could just revolve the pain. The unkind words triggered in me the pain that was already there inside of me. And maybe I'm just going to wallow in the pain. And that's how I hurt myself. There's some, you know, I'm like being a drama queen. I can wallow in the pain. That might have been what I used to do.
Yeah.
Anybody else have an example they want to share? Okay, then we're going to go around to the turnaround to the other. Other people hurt me. I hurt other people. How do I hurt other people when I'm believing the thought that they hurt me? I mean, Tina, your example comes up. You probably didn't even know it, but it probably hurt the lady who had sharp words with you. I would imagine, you know, saying unkind words, people feel that generally, right?
I just said, would
the
you
way
ring the
we
bell?
other.
It was a totally neutral statement, in my opinion, but she didn't take it that way.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you said that you spoke back to her in a.
Oh, I did speak back to her.
But what was the tone of your voice?
It was definitely a raised voice, angry.
Yeah. And so that can be, that's how I hurt other people, by continuing that unloving energy. Cliff, did you raise
I
your
was
hand?
just scratching my head.
Did you scratch your head to find an answer? Diantha.
Oh, I was trying to find some hair.
I was thinking about dynamics like in a argument or something, and then blaming another person for hurting you and giving them that, just like projecting that intention on them and that power, or just that, you know, because especially if it's not true, that they can't hurt you. Anyway, then it's harmful to them because you're not really being
And that's
truthful.
how we perpetuate this suffering world. We just keep it going, and it takes Herculean courage to stop. It's like the buck stops here. I am not going to react with anger and with unkind words. And don't berate yourself when you fail, because you will fail. It's a new habit that we're developing, to just stop. And, you know, it's perfectly acceptable to excuse yourself from the room and just say, I need to go take care of myself, or I need to leave. Whatever it takes to learn to change this habit. But again, as we spoke about before, don't be hard on yourself when it blurts out, because that's just how it is. As we're working to develop new habits, it's a work in progress. And can we just be kind to ourselves? It's huge. It's just huge. So let's do the turnaround to the opposite. other people can hurt me. So what would be the opposite? There's several ways to do an opposite.
Other people can't hurt me.
That's, yes. And give me an example of how that could be true.
If I can cut off my own reaction, they can't hurt me emotionally.
Yeah. So what Byron Katie says is that nobody can hurt me. That's I can only do that to myself. And the reason she says that is because in this world, in this dream world that we're living in, all that the world can do is trigger what's already inside of us. So the wound is already there, and that triggers the pain that's in there. And as we process and relinquish all these levels of pain by, you know, surrendering to Baba, by questioning our stressful thoughts, the triggers just aren't there anymore. The only thing that's left is compassion, love, empathy. And that's where we're headed. And it's just a beautiful journey to be on. And it gets easier over time. And when somebody speaks unkindly to us, we just honor that they're suffering. And we could even say, you know, I'm sorry that you're feeling that way now. I know what that's like. Okay, so we can say other people can't hurt me. And another opposite would be that person who we believed hurt us helps us. That's another opposite. That person helps me because they're showing me where my work is, where my unfinished business is. As long as we get triggered, it's a gift to have somebody show us the next step that we have to take in our work. Yes?
I just wanted to know if you're going to say anything about the coronavirus.
Oh,
Well, we were going to do the work on it, but we don't have time today. So we'll work on it next week. And what I'll tell you is you can write a stressful thought like, the coronavirus is dangerous to me. And what we do with objects, like something like the coronavirus, is we will work on that, and then we'll turn it around to my thinking is dangerous to me about the coronavirus. So when we have fearful thoughts about the coronavirus, my feeling is I can either be stressed and worried about the coronavirus, and I can get it or not get it, or I can be at peace about the coronavirus and take my proactive solutions like social distancing and washing my hands, and then I can get it or not get it. But if I get it without the fear, I'm still at peace. And so this is the way we learn to live. Life is going to always bring us challenges. It's not what happens to us, it's how we respond to it. So that's the work we'll do next week. We'll do the work on the coronavirus, and you know, you can just notice this week when a stressful thought comes up about it.
yeah.
Anybody else want to say anything before we close? I'm going to close with a really short Baba quote. But we have a few.
Same time next week?
Yes, every Wednesday on Eastern time from, is it 3:30 to 5? And anyone's welcome to email me the conversation about recording we can have. I would just love to be able to record because I have quite a few people who wanted to be here who can't. And so we can just sit with that and see what feels like we need to do. But I would love to be able to have this recording. And we also talked about if there's a problem with space, then we could delete it. But Robin, if it goes to your YouTube, that's not an issue, is it?
I don't believe so.
Right. Okay. And so if that's okay with you, that's what we can do. And then in the future, we can always say at the beginning of class, if you don't want to be recorded, then, you know, just don't speak up. Or I don't know if people can do it anonymously. Diantha, is that a possibility?
If people can do what anonymously?
If people want to ask a question or make a comment, is there a way they can do it anonymously so that they're not identified?
I mean, they can enter the group as an anonymous person with a pseudonym and an image instead of their video. I know that later you're going to be doing more like one-on-one facilitation where it would just, the focus would be on one person while they do an inquiry, and in that case I could stop the recording while they are doing, so that it's not on record.
Okay, we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out as we go, but I also think it's really valuable to do these group inquiries, and only to do an individual inquiry if somebody really wants to do that. And if they don't want to do that, they can always email me and have a private session, because I do understand the desire for privacy, and so that's not a problem. We can make these sessions always group inquiries, and I love to get feedback from you, so everyone's welcome to just give me your feedback. This is just something that I felt really inspired to share, and I
don't know how to stop.
You know what that is, Diantha?
What? I don't know who
It's ringing on
Okay.
my Robbins. I don't know how to stop it.
Oh,
Decline.
Sorry.
So maybe I'll
It's Robin, because I saw the yellow border around yours.
Busted.
so what I would like to do right now is just read you a short quote from Listen Humanity. And then if we have a minute, people can just say whatever they want to say, in goodbye and Jai Baba. So this is from Baba, Listen Humanity, page 38. The whole of creation is a play of thoughts, the outcome of the mind. It is your own mind which binds you, and it is also the mind which is the means of your freedom. You are eternally free. You are not bound at all. But you cannot realize your freedom by merely hearing this from me, because your mind contrives to entangle you in the illusion of duality. Therefore, you only understand what I am telling you, and mere understanding cannot make you experience the truth which I tell you. For that truth, you must let your mind be halted and finally rooted out. Then, as soon as you see me as I really am, everything else will disappear, and you will find yourself to be your own eternal and infinite self. Jai Baba.
Jai Baba.
Jai Baba. Jai Baba. Very beautiful. Thank you very much, Anne. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
You're welcome, and thank you everyone for coming and having this experience together. And I will say that I do experience the work as a way to slow the mind down. We don't have to live with incessant mind chatter. The mind does slow down. And of course, my favorite thing is to just take Baba's name internally. Baba says his name is more powerful even than he is. And so when you're suffering, just Baba, Baba, Baba internally. It's the most magnificent. And it doesn't cost anything, and we can do it anytime. So if anybody wants to say anything before we say adieu.
I think that I want to share that a lot of times when I find myself getting in trouble when I'm going through something is that in some way I don't go right to Baba with it. And you make it Baba's responsibility that you're sharing it with him. And it's definitely the sooner the better. Sometimes I wait too long.
Well, and don't you think that's partly because you know, we've evolved our egos, and then you know, it's hard to let our ego go because we still feel like we have to control things.
Yeah, yeah, and also just forgetting and
5
or
o'clock.
not just believing or whatever somehow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's a
But
sweetness
this is
in
so good
getting it out of the
in
bottle.
yeah, this work is so incredible in terms of organizing the thought pattern and breaking away from all the useless ways of looking at our belief systems. Just, you know, it's
Yes.
fantastic. Yeah, really
Yes.
great. Yeah.
And as you um, contemplate the work and you start to notice what stressful thought you're believing,
Yeah.
it will become automatic to question it internally,
Yeah.
and it just gets easier.
That's good. I'm a long way away from that, but I look forward to that.
Well, it just gets better. I can
Yeah.
assure you, it just gets easier and better. And please know that there's tears to be shed along the way because we're
Mm.
letting go of so much. And we're the most fortunate because we have Baba. That's the most amazing thing to
Yeah,
me.
absolutely.
Baba is completely available to us, more than we can ever know.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Anne. Jai
Thank you.
Baba.
Thank you.
Thank you, Anne.
Thanks,
And
everybody.
very
Thank you
good.
very much. Thank
Jai
you.
Baba.
Great,
Hey,
Baba.
Baba.
Okay, Baba.
Hey, Baba.
Jai
Till we
Baba.
meet again.
See you next week, hopefully. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Now, on a technical side, is there anything I need to do here? I'll just get Angela and she'll
I
deal with it.
think, yeah, Angela will know. I think that you'll remaining co-host is what she would
Okay.
want.
Good.
You could mute yourself and turn your video off so
This
Did
is,
you
yeah,
stop
we
recording?
okay.
can't hear you.
Yeah, I think that
Diantha?
they
I'm
were,
going to stop the recording now.
Yeah, let's
okay.
stop the recording.